penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized.
This one's wife. This picture sums it all up. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. It's said that a picture paints 1,000 words. It's a cliché, but clichés are invariably accurate. The power of a picture often outweighs that of the written word. That a single frame is able to convey so much. Powerful messages, raw, visceral emotion. Whether it is sporting triumph, abject despair, a triumphant occurrence in the history of humankind, tragedy writ large across the screen, a momentous moment in history. And as I speak to you, you can see various pictures across the screen, some of which are recognized as probably the most famous that exist. You will have your own personal favorite photographs that are pertinent to your life, that encapsulate certain moments that were important to you and those around you. Others can appreciate the photograph, but only you understand the true meaning behind it. There will be famous photographs that you can recall. You'll have again your particular favourites that are memorable. Perhaps you remember the event that is captured in that particular photograph. I remember where I was when this happened. For some, the assassination of JFK. For others, the tragic events of 9/11. Where they were when they heard the news about the moon landing, or that they watched it on television. The photograph, the picture, is a very powerful medium, and it covers so much of a range of the human condition and human emotion, ranging from ecstatic joy to utter misery, despair, and being devoid of hope. Whether it's war, famine, sporting occasion, the celebration of the war coming to an end, the fall of a dividing wall, pushing new frontiers in conquering space, encapsulating a wonderful moment between two human beings, capturing an awful moment between two human beings. Photographs encapsulate so much and send a powerful message. They enable you to understand in a glimpse what's going on. For me, I have the cognitive ability, as a narcissistic psychopath, to understand what is taking place in the photograph. This is because I have learned over many years how to interpret the interactions that take place between individuals. I understand what the facial expressions mean. I recognize what the body language tells us. For those of you with emotional empathy, you will invariably have a visceral, not guttural of course, visceral response to many pictures. I have heard people talk about how they feel a soaring in their chest at a wonderful picture, a beautiful picture, an inspiring picture. They feel a sense of dread, of fear, of disgust at others. A picture has that immediacy. Whilst words are powerful, they take time to digest. Nevertheless, as you have seen with all of the various images that have appeared on the screen, there is such a range that can be covered. The photograph is so brilliant at, in a moment, embodying something that has happened and conveying it with just one look. Sometimes a longer analysis is required to appreciate some of the subtleties that you might not have observed first time around. And I'm about to show you a photograph, a very recent photograph involving this one's wife, which embodies everything to know about her and the dynamic that she has with her husband and with other people. Here it comes. There it is. As you'll know, this one's wife and the ginger poodle are currently in Canada. They met athletes at the Whistler Blackcomb ski resort in British Columbia on Valentine's Day. And a series of photographs were taken, more about that later. But one in particular caught my eye, the one that you can see on your screen now, which tells us everything that you need to know about the narcissistic dynamic. But let's break it down. Let's start with Harry. There he is, shaking hands with an unidentified individual. A courteous greeting, the handshake being one of the widely recognized ways of greeting somebody, particularly when you don't know them that well. It's a relatively formal gesture, courteous and respectful. But note that even whilst he is shaking hands with that person, he has been upstaged. And this is what we have seen happen to Harry again and again and again. That he is told of his place, which is, I'm first, you're second. You might have been a royal before me, but I'm the real power of the throne here. Thus, Harry engages in that courteous act of shaking hands with somebody that he's meeting, possibly for the first time. And his reaction sums it up. Head bowed, slightly slumped, an individual who knows that he is second best once again. There's no indignant reaction from him with regard to his wife's behaviour. Oh no. Like the simp he has become, he just accepts that this is his relegated role, that he's a bit part player in the film of this one's wife's life. Head down, staring at the floor, still holding on to the hand, which shows the immediacy by which this one's wife has interrupted the interaction. As for this one's wife, well, I don't think you'd be able to find a better picture that just demonstrates what an unpleasant and self-absorbed and publicity-seeking, fuel-hungry narcissist that she is. Harry has been engaging with someone else. That means that it's not about her. That wounds her, and immediately her fury ignites to propel her to do something to bring the spotlight back onto her. She'll also be fully aware, of course, that there is a film crew and photographers present, and therefore the narcissism needs to ensure that the facade of the huggy, kind, down-to-earth Duchess is maintained. The facade management will not allow the ignited fury to appear on this occasion, keeping it under lock and key. And therefore, even though she is propelled to take action, the facade management kicks in. Therefore, she doesn't elbow Harry out of the way or shove him to one side, but rather she inserts herself right into the middle of the handshake. It's plain rude and demonstrates the absence of boundary recognition that she has, her sense of entitlement, and the necessity of ensuring that it's all about me. Notice as well that the recipient of the hug can't actually do anything because his hand is still being held by Harry. Therefore, it's, I'm going to hug you whether you like it or not, assertion of control directly over this particular appliance. That person might not want to have been hugged. He doesn't necessarily know the Duchess of Sussex. It's an intrusive move. But you'll also see that it isn't a natural move of hers either. If you look at the positioning of her feet, they're facing towards the camera, and she's had to twist awkwardly. That shows that she's not even stepped forward to properly embrace this individual in a hug, but such is the necessity of speed that her feet remain planted to the ground facing forward as she's twisted herself into the handshake. This shows the level of desperation that she has to be included, to be the centre of things, and relegates her husband, showing no emotional empathy for him, interrupts the handshake, showing no emotional empathy for Harry or the other gentleman, lays her hands on this other gentleman, which again shows no emotional empathy for him or boundary recognition, subjects him to a hug even if he doesn't want it, and of course ensures that this is all captured by the cameras as part of her facade management of the kind, huggy Duchess of Sussex. It is unnatural and shows once again that there is no emotional empathy about this woman, that whatever she does is stage manufactured by her narcissism. And this picture brilliantly encapsulates her narcissism in action by showing you her sense of entitlement, her absence of emotional empathy, the lack of accountability for her behaviours, the awkwardness of those behaviours, how they're incongruous. It demonstrates her lack of boundary recognition. It shows the manipulations that are being used, belittlement of Harry to keep him in check, just a slight devaluing behaviour there and then, just momentary, but enough, and you see his reaction to it. It's like a naughty puppy that's been scolded. And a benign action towards the unidentified gentleman by giving him a hug. We also see the facade management. Thus, we know there's been a threat to her control by the handshake taking place, and then she's responded to this threat to control by asserting control over both Harry and this gentleman whilst managing the facade. So much narcissism embodied in just one picture, and a brilliant opportunity for me to break all of that down for you just from one picture. Now, of course, there will be the odd critic who will say, oh, you're reading too much into it. No, I'm not, because you must remember this. I have examined so much evidence in relation to this one's wife to demonstrate that she's a narcissist. This allows me thereafter to interpret everything that she does through the prism of her narcissism. It isn't a case of reading too much into what's going on here. It's simply, this is an interaction between her, Harry, and the unidentified gentleman. And because she is a narcissist, we know that her interactions with other individuals are governed solely by her pursuit of the prime aims. She must control, she must draw fuel, she may obtain character traits, she may obtain residual benefits. It's not governed by anything else. It's not governed by kindness. That's just the layer that is put on top of it to motivate her to behave in the particular way. It's not compassion. That's just part of the facade. What you see here is the narcissist in action. Her actions described because we know that she's a narcissist. And a picture that sums it all up. That Harry is only ever a bit part player in the marriage with his wife, that she must always be front and centre, muscling him out of the way, that she must manage that facade and continue to demonstrate what a complete narcissist she is. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.